Welcome to Golden Reflections, the podcast delving into the captivating 50-year journey of Northeast Ohio Medical University. I'm your host, Lindsay Loftus, and I'm excited to lead you through a series of heartfelt and nostalgic conversations with pivotal figures in NEOMED's history. Joining us in today's episode are the pioneers of pharmacy, members of the inaugural class 2011.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Corsi, and I graduated from NEOMED in the inaugural pharmacy class of 2011. I currently practice in Jacksonville, Florida at Baptist Medical Center in Jacksonville.
Hi, my name is Robert Nearhoof, and I also graduated in the inaugural class of 2011, and I am currently practicing at Sand Run Pharmacy in Akron, Ohio.
My name is Joe Dikun. I'm a member of the class of 2011. I'm currently at the University of Mississippi, where I serve as an assistant professor of pharmacy administration. And I get the opportunity to spend some time with our students on the weekend practicing with Walmart Pharmacy.
Hi, I'm Sarah Welch, also graduated with this great group of people in 2011, and I currently work for Pfizer as a medical science liaison.
And I'm Chris Shelby, also the class of 2011, currently working in the complex care clinic at SEMA here in Akron.
Well, you guys represent the inaugural class, and you are celebrated as the pharmacy pioneers at NEOMED. So with that, can you discuss the significance of revisiting our story 5 decades later, and what does NEOMED mean to you?
Sarah, I know you're laughing. You're making me laugh.
I know. No, it's like, I feel like I need to have such a profound answer because I'll say it has meant so much because I've had, I said I worked for Pfizer right now, but prior to Pfizer, I had a wonderful career at the Cleveland Clinic in critical care, and that, but I had started out in retail, and my kind of love of clinical pharmacy was born at NEOMED, and I did a block rotation that they offered at the second half of my last year. And so, not only did it provide me my degree in education, but it, gave me the pathway to a career that I ended up loving. And I love where I'm at right now. And so it's just kind of helped me build a foundation for this really wonderful life. And we had a lot of interdisciplinary, interaction with our medical colleagues, which I think served me really well in clinical practice. And I'm sure others on the call feel that way. It has meant a lot.
I'll piggyback that. I went through and marked down some notes. In going to NEOMED, obviously one of the most important decisions of my life. It really helped me become who I am today and allowed me to get to where I am today. So definitely a place where I will be forever grateful.
Yep, and I can add to that as well, Bobby. For me, it was going back to pharmacy school was after several careers, and it really made me feel at home, like I had finally found something and some place where I could develop more of a longitudinal career, right? Not hopping from one thing to the other. And I think NEOMED in particular, and our group in particular, because I think that, we need to talk about that eventually, but I think we were very special as a class. And so, being the first class and going through a lot of the things that we did to develop the program as we went, I felt so at home at NEOMED because we helped to build it, right? So we helped to build the curriculum by being on the committees. We, helped to build a lot of the classes and a lot of the curriculum and a lot of the experiences, and gave feedback for what was working and what wasn't. And we did that, not sure that we were going to graduate at the end of that, right? I mean, there was a point where we were concerned about whether we were going to end up with a degree. We didn't have to worry about that in the end, but I still think, the experience of us doing that together as a class, for me, really solidified that I was in the right place and that I was doing the right thing. And the experiences that NEOMED gave me, not just at the school, but, our rotations and meeting people and making connections, all of that rounded out such an amazing experience that you could take that experience and go in different directions, as we all have, right? Sarah, you started in retail. I was headed to retail, and whether you stayed on your path or veered off your path or, ended up on a completely different path, the foundation that we got at NEOMED, I think, gave us the tools that we needed no matter what path we ended up on. So for me, that's the significance of being not just at NEOMED, but having that environment and being with our class as the first pharmacy class.
I'd like to pick this one up. NEOMED for me is always about the people. It's always about the people. It's been the people from day one. And it was about the people that when I talked to a core group of faculty, when I was deciding between, was I going to grad school to look at Erlenmeyer flasks for the rest of my life, or was I going to go talk to people? They saw something very different in me than I saw in myself right at that moment. And because of that, that took me on a trajectory of working with patients and now students and so forth. And so NEOMED's always been about people and what people have provided of themselves to support our success. And I know a lot of us are continuing to do that with others as we've moved out into the field.
Chris?
And just to add a little bit to that, I think I agree with everything that everybody has said. I mean, I had no idea what I was going to do with my life when I stepped into NEOMED. And to be honest with you, I'm still not sure what I'm doing with my life, but it definitely set me on a path. And, like Becky said, being first, that was, it was exciting. It was scary. It was all of these different things, but every, position that I've had coming out of there, I've walked in and I've been the first, and I've been comfortable building something because, we did that for 4 years at NEOMED, being the first that were there, figuring this stuff out. So, stepping in at my first job and creating a clinic, did that, starting a residency program, did that, moving on to a different practice, being the first pharmacist there, and then creating this new type of practice that I'm in now. Like, I think all of the things that we learned at NEOMED of, we're in this together and we'll figure it out. It's going to be fine. Yeah, it's going to be scary, but we'll figure it out. But I think, all of those lessons that I learned there at NEOMED have just carried with me through all these other things.
I can only imagine that there may have been some anxiety in those early days, first few weeks, when you were all students and set foot on campus. Can you talk a little bit about how those first few weeks unfolded and some of the things that maybe were going through your head, and how you addressed that, as well as talk about how you coalesced as a group?
I was scared to death, to be honest. First of all, I had 4 kids and I'm starting into pharmacy school and starting not just into pharmacy school, but we were starting in with the med students for the first year, and you hear nightmare stories about the studying and not being able to pass things. So I just at that point figured every day was a gift. And then every day after that was a gift. So, at the end of it, I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I made it. We made it through. So that, to me, I think was the feeling that I went in with was, can I do this? Is this something that I can be successful at? Actually, the first thing was, can I complete it? And then can I be successful? And I think, Lindsay, to your point of how does NEOMED fit into that, that's where I think the success piece comes in. Because I think if it was a different environment or a different group of folks on the staff or different folks that we got to know in our class those first couple weeks as we're trying to figure out not only the classes, the different groups of people, right? The med students are like, wait, who are you? Pharmacy people in our med student, classrooms. So I think navigating all of that and having the support of the staff who are going through that with us, the administration that we're going through that with us and trying to support us. All of us together, kind of huddling together as the pharmacy team because we were going to make it through. I think that piece lends itself to the success of being at NEOMED and coming out of this program. So for me, it went from, oh my gosh, can I do this, to I have my peeps, I have my staff, I have my administration, I'm at home at NEOMED, let's do this. And we did. In the end, we did together.
I mean, you got to think too, in the beginning, the staff, a lot of the staff, this is their first time putting together, a pharmacy school as well, besides Dean Allen, I believe maybe had done it once before. But so it was all brand new to everybody. And I think that's what was exciting too, is we did get to build it from the bottom and we got to see it all the way through. There were bumps along the road, but everybody came together and worked together, I thought, really well, developed what I still believe is a really great product.
Yeah. I actually I actually didn't feel too much anxiety starting. And I think some of that was because this school, actually coming from Ohio State, the school actually felt very small and like familial almost. Everyone felt very accessible. And you kind of felt like no one was going to let you fail, like people were you had a support system there. And I don't know if it was just coming from a bigger university where you're like this, small fish in a big sea to, you've got medical students, pharmacy students, some PhD students, it felt like you had this small community of, dedicated learners and dedicated faculty. And, it felt very comfortable, I thought. And I think it still feels that way, even though I'm sure we'll get to it, but the campus has grown quite a bit from when we were there.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed starting out with the medical students though too, because I thought that helped, try to bring everybody together as well. And, you got to know a lot more classmates, whether pharmacy or medicine. And I just think that helped throughout the entire process.
I like that we had something to prove as well, in a healthy way. I think that the medical students learned a lot from us and we from them about the roles each of us could play in each other's care that they provide. And that healthy competition at times, I think was good from a learning perspective as well. Again, the faculty that surrounded us, they believed in us. They truly did believe in us. And it was hard to be not convinced that they believed that we can do this, even when those times were unknown of what was going to be next, or how do you not know what classes are coming next semester? Help me understand what's coming next. It's okay. We believe you've got this. We chose you to do this. So that to me was the beginning of it all, was a nice little confidence boost, but at the same time, some unintended education of getting to learn another group of people who we were going to work with the rest of our careers.
I feel like that was earned though. Do you guys remember in the beginning there was some definite bumps along the road there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was a mutual respect that we gained for each other in the classes, because that was something new to the medical students having pharmacy there. We were brand new and trying to find our way. And so I do think that helped develop us both the groups and the school as a whole. But that was definitely earned on both sides for sure.
I want to direct this to Dr. Shelby. Can you talk a little bit about how you formed your small groups, like your small group of friends or group of folks to study with? How did that come to be? How did you guys, find your way that way?
That's a good question. I mean, like Becky, I had a family, so, I spent time on campus, but, I got out of there when I had to get out of there because I had to be home. So, I had my group of people, Sebecki and, Chris Coster and Eric Sinchek, Tim Church. I'm not sure how we kind of got together, probably love of sports. I'm not sure really what it was, but, by the end of it, we're all sitting in the back row in Liebelt Hall, all in a line. I guess you kind of just find your people
Anybody else?
Well, it's funny because I was actually trying to think about that. Like, how did I can't even remember my first time meeting like Christina and Chris. And I do remember meeting Eric Simchek for the first time. But like, I don't remember. We did just kind of come together, and then we were, but our whole class was very friendly. I mean, I do remember feeling like I knew everyone pretty well, and we had like like good study groups, and yeah, it was. And even with the med students too, like I know, it was a little bit of rough going in the beginning, but we had some really good friendships in there. It's like 13 years ago now. It's hard to remember.
So
That's
true.
crazy. Yeah.
I know.
There were so many darn group things that we had to do. We were forced to work with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joe, you and I hung out. How did we meet?
That's what I was going to say.
I think small group.
I think it was a hefty combination of where you sat the first day to where you came from. Because most of the people that who I sat with the first day and who I brought with me as a part of the relationships I built at Youngstown State. I mean, I feel like those relationships with those students were strong throughout just because we had worked together those first few years and meeting our requirements. And so, yeah, it was a combination of both.
Now, you guys probably looked at other colleges of pharmacy before selecting NEOMED. Maybe not, I don't know. But what went into your decision to select a brand new kind of inaugural college of pharmacy versus one that was tried and true?
Well, I'll take this one because my answer is I don't recommend this to people. But mine was I went there because my boyfriend at the time was living in Cleveland. And so it was close. And I was like, that's it. That's where I'm going. But I don't recommend that for anybody listening. we didn't make it, but it worked out for me nonetheless.
For myself, it was an opportunity to move back home and move back to where I kind of grew up. So, and just continue those relationships that I had started way back when. So,
yeah, mine was, I had kids, so I couldn't travel very far. I couldn't pick up and go to Ohio State and, move into the dorm there. So, it was close. It was just opening. I was middle-aged and going back to school. I mean, it's not like I was some rock star that, had straight A's across the board for the last 10 years. So it was something that was close and new and was open to a variety of folks. Let me put it that way, that they were looking for a varied class to be able to bring in and start their program.
The passion of the early faculty was hard to avoid. The Rob McGorrys and the Jan McKeekins and the David Allens. I mean, they were sitting with us as potential students. I remember 5, 10, 20 minutes after the sessions ended at Youngstown State to say, you should come see us. Like, come see what we're going to do. Let's go talk about what we're going to do. Here's an application. Come on, join us. So
I remember interviewing with McGorry. And the first question, Sarah, you have to see if the same thing happened to you. But I walked in, I'm older. I mean, I was so nervous. I'm like, this is never going to happen for me. So let's just have some fun. And I walked in and Dr. McGorry is sitting there. He's like, okay, we're going to get started. He's all serious. And he goes, we're going to start with this question. And I was like, okay, here we go. And he's like, what's your favorite movie? Okay, we can do this. Yeah.
And knowing him now, that is absolutely perfect. But at that moment, oh my gosh, it's like, what have I done? I've made a terrible mistake.
I do remember the essay. I don't know if you guys, does anyone remember the essay they had to write? Because I remember mine was on what is the biggest challenge facing our government today, which can't even imagine the answers back then and what it would be now. It was, I remember. That will always stick with me.
That's pretty good. I can't even remember what the essay was on. I think it was all a blur at that point.
One of the questions was about the 5 C's and what does it mean to you, I think.
Yeah. That sounds familiar.
I've seen.
I do remember leaving the day though, feeling like I really loved everybody I met, everybody that interviewed me. And I actually thought the essay was really interesting, like the question, and yeah.
Oh, awesome. Reflect on the university's shining moments and its impact on health professions education.
No, I can talk about that. You know, being at SUMA in Akron City, in you know, when we started, you know, everybody's saying, "Oh, the future of healthcare is multidisciplinary teams where pharmacists and physicians are working side by side to take care of patients." I mean, they were force feeding that to us, and I don't know if any of us actually knew what that meant or believed it. And I feel like it took some time, but man, it's SUMA, like that is everything all the time. Like all the teams have pharmacists on them. All the teams are multidisciplinary. And I've been, you know, being at a smaller community place at Alliance before this, it was completely separated. So I think NEOMED being in, you know, the Northeast Ohio community, having so many learners, you know, from, you know, the College of Medicine, the College of Pharmacy, you know, being co-taught at, you know, these institutions, it's always been together. I mean, I just think that is just fully integrated, you know, especially at that place, you know, that's where my experience is. I don't know if, you know, Sarah, maybe you saw that at the Cleveland Clinic, but I think that multidisciplinary, you know, interprofessional, all of that stuff that we were being taught at NEOMED, it was going to be the future. I see it every day, you know, when I go into work. So I just think that's awesome.
Yeah, I would echo that. The clinic was the same way. Every team had a pharmacist and, you know, and treated with, you know, just respect and, you know, would ask, you know, it was an integrated part of the team. And I think we did get that a lot during school. And I think especially younger generations of physicians, I think are now growing up with that model. Whereas, you know, older physicians, I think maybe that took a little bit of time and adaptation, but now it's kind of an expected part of, especially large institutions. You know, I think, you know, clinical pharmacists are very integrated into teams. And I think we had really good foundation for that going into, you know, from NEOMED going into those careers.
As maybe someone who has stepped the farthest in geography away from the university, it's nice constantly to see NEOMED pop up again and again at national meetings and papers, and models of how we're doing things in our skills lab or things like that. And so I get to know even farther away from you all at this point that there are still great things happening there, and people are using us as an example as that little school, not a, you know, a large R01 campus, but that little school is still doing great things. And so it's nice that when I come across my table again and again.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Joe. Being kind of separated from Northeast Ohio, you are immersed in that kind of environment. And I think NEOMED plays a huge part of that. But when you get away from that, NEOMED does a very good job at trying to spread their wings, right? And incorporate folks that have moved away and showcase the great work that they're doing. So I definitely would echo that.
Can you share your most cherished memory at the university?
I'll start with one of mine. So we had, this isn't education related, but I don't know if you guys still do this, but I think it was at the end of the year. I don't remember what it was for, but there was some type of auction, or maybe it was a raffle of some sort. But me, Chris, Christina, and Eric won a whitewater rafting trip with Chris Paxos. And it was so much fun. We had the best time, but the faculty got really involved in auctioning or raffling off like different activities or experiences. And it was so cool. And it was just so much fun. I mean, we still talk about that. Like, it was such a great trip. I'll never forget that. Is Dr. Paxos still at? That. Yeah, is he still there?
Yes. Paxos is still there.
Yeah.
Oh, great guy.
I think there was too much liability involved with taking students on a whitewater rafting trip. I think I had to stop that.
The law ruins everything.
That might be the
I think,
title of this podcast. The law ruins everything.
I remember that auction too, Sarah. So I offered my handyman services, and I ended up installing a screen door for Lou Barone. He won that in the raffle.
Oh, that's
Oh my gosh, I forgot you were a carpenter.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah,
That's
definitely a
awesome.
windy path.
You should know that I have since stole that auction and brought it to the University of Mississippi. So our APHA chapter does one every year still.
Oh, that's nice,
Oh,
Joe.
that's awesome.
That is so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that was
remember that
fun.
too. We ended up on a Great Lakes trip with Casmer to fish.
Oh, that had
yeah.
to be so fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time. Yeah.
Any other memories stick out?
Graduation. That's a good one.
Yep.
Yeah. And Sarah, with graduation, the part that I remember the most is before we went on stage, where we were all kind of in the back
Oh,
and
yeah.
getting ready, and we're getting in line, and you kind of look around, and that's where I remember looking back and thinking, look at us. We
I
did it.
know.
Yeah.
I know. I remember that. It was like the 4 years went by so fast.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if any of us actually understood the gravity of the situation though, too. I mean, there was so much at stake at that moment too, for the school.
Yeah, that's true, Bobby.
How have you witnessed the evolution of the university since your time there?
At moments, it's unrecognizable.
Yeah,
Every time I come back, there's a high school, there's a new building, there's dorms, and all this other infrastructure that makes it feel more like a campus and everything. So every time I hit it off the highway, it looks a little different, and every time I go inside, it still feels the same, but it looks a little different. It looks a little different. So it definitely would be a place that I would want to continue to. I would have chosen to go to and continue to go to now that it feels more like an academic center, a university.
Yeah. Especially now that it has a gym and a little bit of a basketball court. I mean, I remember in between classes or after class going to work out in the dungeon.
Yeah, I remember that
it
place.
was,
oh my gosh.
So I mean, it's the small memories like that. And like you said, it's grown so much, but yet when you do walk back there, you feel like you're walking to class again. And pathways may be a little different to get from one classroom to the other, but the guts are still there, and it's, for me, it just gives me chills kind of walking back each time. Don't get back as often as I'd like to, but it's still very special knowing that I was a part of something really big there.
I think it's also, we take for granted what you're able to accomplish at the size as well. Having a primary care presence there, having an innovations pharmacy there. These are things the big boys can't do. They still can't do. And somehow you guys made that possible. And so I will applaud you for that always.
I think there's been some really nice evolution with the curriculum too. And I commend everybody there for keeping it evolving, especially with the elective courses that they're not kids, but the students are able to take. And I know they feel like children now, but like I know I did a few lectures on critical care, and I know, it's just a kind of a niche area of medicine that, it's a big area, but you don't get a lot of background in it. And I know there was talks about industry and what are, potential career options there, and just giving students, access and kind of visibility to different areas, and because there's so many career opportunities in pharmacy. And I think it's been really cool to see the university evolving that way, and letting students, helping students stay up to date with what options are out there.
Yeah, I would agree completely, Sarah. I know I went back and did some informatics, which we didn't have a lot when we went through, right?
Informatics is a great one.
Yeah, and it's huge. I mean, it once you get into it, it's kind of all encompassing. But if you don't have a toe dipped in there or understand kind of what goes on behind the scenes, and that how you can participate in pharmacy. And I love that, NEOMED reached out to us as we got through the program and kind of got on our career paths and invited us back so we could give back a little bit, right, to the students and give some perspective and talk about, our pathway. I saw a lot of the development even when I was out and working at Akron General. And I remember when we went through rotations, the rotation choices were pretty limited, right? So there were some core folks that were participating in rotations. And then actually, before I ended up moving down here, I remember all of the students that would come into Akron General, and we had informatics rotations, and we had critical care rotations, and we had geriatric rotations, and just the expansion of opportunity that NEOMED, I feel, pushed while we were in school, and then continued to prioritize that even after we were out. And you're right, when you go into, like when I went into pharmacy, all I knew was the guy behind the counter at Walgreens, that there was a person back there that I didn't see very much, but I knew that they were a pharmacist, and there had to be pharmacists in the hospitals. But other than that, I really didn't have a good feel for the diversity that a pharmacist could have, So I think that I like to see the development there with rotations and experiences and shadowing and mentoring. And I think NEOMED continues to prioritize that for their students, which I think is really, really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, bringing that up, Becky, that just made me think of, when we started doing our IPI rotations, like how many different places did NEOMED send us to just to see what was out there? I mean, I don't think, a lot of, colleges of pharmacy are able to do that. And unfortunately, I don't think NEOMED does that quite like they used to. But I mean, how many different places did we go to our first 2 years? I mean, it was enough for me to say, okay, I don't want to do this for sure. Mm-hmm. And boy, these 3 or 4 things seem pretty interesting and that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And with the evolution of rotations, I mean, we used to go either before class or after class for 4 hours. I mean, now they are essentially going 40 hours a week, so they can get a lot more of those experiences, especially in a hospital setting. I liked having the split days. I can see both sides to the story about how that can be very beneficial. Especially at a hospital setting, to be able to do the rounds and then do the workups and stuff like that. But I mean, the university is constantly taking the feedback from both preceptors and the students to be able to put the students in the best position to learn, but then also the preceptors in the best position to teach, which is really what it's all about too. So being a preceptor for NEOMED, I mean, it's wonderful seeing the kids, shouldn't say kids, students coming through there, through the pharmacy, and getting to quiz them and talk to them and get to know them. So they talk about the evolution. That's just one minor part of what they continue to do.
I was just going to give a little perspective is, for years being on, a faculty member also. So going through, the original curriculum and then being part of, building curriculum 2.0 and how that evolved into, what the students are doing now. I mean, that was a huge, huge undertaking. Mm-hmm. And, I think what we got was way more than what students get now, for better or for worse.
Right.
I mean, I think when they started counting the number of contact hours and things that we did through the program, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I think, I think they were able to kind of distill the essential things down that we got a lot of benefit from, and keep that in the curriculum for the students. I mean, like the communications that we're able to do, some of the activities, the interprofessional stuff, a lot of that, seeing students that come out of NEOMED, on API rotations compared to other API students. I mean, there's still some things that NEOMED students clearly do better than, students from other colleges of pharmacy.
This podcast is celebrating our 50 years. NEOMED was founded in 1973. This is our 50th year celebration. We're also going to have a podcast that looks at the future, then what's going to happen in the future, the next 50 years, if you will. I'd like some advice from this group, because in the fall of 2025, we're going to have our first class of dental medicine students.
Oh my gosh.
The College of Dentistry will have its first class in the fall of 2025. So with that, you guys have seen the movie. What advice would you give those young dental medicine students as they set foot on NEOMED's campus?
I would say, you have to just kind of, I would say part and parcel, you have to have faith that the people that are developing the program, have put a lot of thought and, an effort behind making it, really conducive to your learning, but you have to give feedback, and you have to make sure that, it's constructive and is helpful. And, I think complaining never helps. So, finding ways to communicate, I know, right? Is important. And because I remember, I thought everyone was very receptive to feedback that our class gave. And I think it really helped the program. And so I think, have faith, be open, but provide feedback, when something, isn't working.
Sarah, do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember when we gave feedback? And I know this is taking a branch off, Lindsay, but when we gave feedback and the administration would come into Liebelt at lunchtime or whatever and talk to us about what was going on and listen to what we wanted to say and give feedback and brainstorm possible solutions. And those are the kind of things that stick in my mind when it comes to us being the first class. Is there was a lot of collaboration, and I don't think you see that now. And when it comes to being a first class, I think a lot of what you said resonated with me, Sarah. Giving good feedback and being open and knowing that you are supported and that your administration and your faculty want you to succeed. And, I think about our experience as the first class and the fact that we did it together as a class, but we did it together not just with students. I mean, we had the ear of the administration, we had the ear of the faculty, we had all of the backing in the world, I think, to help us be successful in that program. And it's hard to communicate that to a new class, Lindsay, to your point of folks who don't know NEOMED, right? They're coming in, they're brand new, but I like Sarah's way of putting it, is to just trust and know that they're going to do everything they can to help you succeed in this program, because that's what we experienced. And I don't see other subsequent classes getting that kind of benefit. I mean, I really think that that's unique to a first class.
It's a really awesome opportunity when you're the first class, I think, in that respect.
Do you guys remember having your lunch with the dean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Gosh, I forgot
I
about
remember lunch with the dean being so nervous about, oh my gosh, what's he gonna ask? Am I gonna know the answer? You know, and it's like, you know, all they're there for is to get to know you and for you to get to know them. And I think for the incoming students, that is very important to understand. Like you guys have all mentioned, they're there for you too. So it's a critical component, and it brings that small school feel to it too, of just getting to know everybody.
that. Mhm.
So
Feel like that first class gets the opportunity to provide their feedback informally, but also formally in ways that other classes don't. There are seats on committees, there are seats on ad hoc things, accreditation things that they're going to need. If you're so passionate about those things, sit on those roles, make sure those roles are filled, make sure those roles are hearing you as well. Because that's definitely another unique experience of that first class that I think we had, that maybe shaped our administrative philosophies or shaped who we may want to be as professionals or things like that. I think as a part of a new program, there are always less people to do the work than there are opportunities that need done. And so don't lose the fact that you're also there to become incredible dentists. I think that is my number one advice. And don't forget that you need to balance out those extra professional opportunities with that build. You're only going to get that curriculum one time. And so don't forget that has to be your focus, but also don't forget that you will miss out on an opportunity to create great relationships and provide a lot of yourself if you're not providing a seat at the table, taking an opportunity to have a seat at the table when they're brought to you.
As we bring this to a close, I'd like to ask each of you to kind of share a final thought for our audience today. And if I can ask Dr. Shelby to go first.
Why do I have to go first? Man, I just want to copy somebody else's answer.
Because you went last at the for the first question, so I'm feeling sorry for you.
With you, Lindsay. Don't feel sorry for me. You know, I loved my time at NEOMED. You know, as a student. You know, you asked the question about you know some of the best memories, and you know there were hundreds of little things, you know, just lots of funny things that happened, you know, with different people, different experiences that we had. You know, graduation was a great thing, you know, one big thing, but, you know, lots of little things that happened while we were there. I loved being part of the first class. Like I said, I think it helped me go other places and build great things. You know, going back as a faculty member, you know, I was able to kind of share some of those things and, you know, help, you know, grow some of the other students coming through the program. I think NEOMED's you know, a little diamond in the rough, you know, just out there in the middle of the cornfield. What they used to call it, the college in the cornfield or whatever when it first started. It's not that anymore. Anybody that's been on campus, you know, you realize that really quickly. You know, I just thankful for the opportunity. Boy, it's great to be on the call with you folks too. You know, some of you I haven't talked to in years, and it's great to hear your voices. Sorry, you can't see me. That's probably for your benefit. But being a part of NEOMED and being part of that first class, you know, I'm very proud of that. So whenever I see students that come through on rotation, I make sure I let them know that I was in that charter class of the College of Pharmacy in NEOMED.
Sarah?
Yeah, I share all of Chris's sentiments. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to just participate and kind of give back when I can to the school. Lindsay, you've done such a wonderful job at keeping us involved and up to date, and I'm so appreciative of that. And I love being able to connect with you all here, but in other places. Like, it was so fun being on the golf outing with you and Bobby. And it's just, I have such a big place in my heart for NEOMED, and it's played such an integral role in my career and my friendships. And I'm just, really grateful for the time there. And I'm so happy to see that it's thriving and expanding and doing so well. And I'm not surprised at all.
Bobby?
Yeah, I really don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. We've talked a lot about the little things, and some more of those things that come to my mind are, the going to the gala, the bowling league that we used to have, the basketball tournaments.
Oh my God, I forgot about the bowling.
Flag football. I mean, just a lot of the stuff outside of the classroom, and just how special that time was. You forget sometimes how much time you do have until you start your full-time job, and you're like, wow, what did I do with all that time? And being able to have those memories with all of those other classmates, and to have those opportunities like going to the golf outing and being able to be a preceptor, going back to the school to talk to some of the classmates about what independent pharmacy is all about, and will they still be around in the next 30 years or 10 years or 5 years, and how strong really the profession of pharmacy is, and how special it is, and how many people you get to touch and meet, and it puts you really at the front. At least for me, I get to talk to hundreds of people every single day, and I wouldn't be able to do that in that capacity if it wasn't for NEOMED. And I'm just forever be grateful for that opportunity to be there and be part of that first class.
Joe?
So plenty of things I've remembered, plenty of things I know I've forgotten, but I know when I look back at the experience, I've got an air of good feeling about it. Wasn't time well. I mean, it wasn't time spent other than with good people and good company and for a good purpose. As I connect with you all and reconnect, and I continue to connect with people throughout the professional arena, it's nice to hear that NEOMED's still preserving its legacy and the legacy of putting out high quality healthcare professionals. Things are going on with the grad school. Things are going on with the ever changing pharmacy curriculum, a new dental school. I know it's hard to miss the fact that pharmacy is facing some challenges right now. But what I hear makes me hopeful that when we hit the next 50, we'll have a lot more to say.
Becky?
We became a family, right, at NEOMED, our first class. And, I see, Sarah, I see you smiling, Bobby's sitting there, and there's Joe, and I know Chris is there. It's hard now, right? Because I haven't seen you guys in so long. And that is it was such a big part of our lives for so many years that we did things together. And I mean, we were in class together. We had our experiences together. We did stuff outside of class to, all of the pieces and parts of that experience that we had. I wish we could jump back into Lee Belt, once a week and just hang out with each other. And, Lindsay, you pop in, or, McGorry pops in, and, it was really such a positive part of my life that I wish I could perpetuate that in a way. So hopefully this won't be the last time we get together.
Well said. Thank you, each of you, for your time and your service to your profession, because we are very, very proud of each of you as our alumni. And we are very fortunate that you chose NEOMED over other schools. So thank you so much for your time.
Golden Reflections is hosted by Lindsay Loftus and produced by Dave Vidito. Thank you for listening.